Coming up on this episode of The Social Hour, Guy Kawasaki joins Amber and me, and he's got a lot to say on Enchantment and why Google Plus is his very favorite social network these days. Also, why real names aren't always the way to go online and why people should be angry. And what's a Twakeover? Amber's going to explain that. All that and why a banana flame might mean you buy the perfect outfit. Really, I'm serious. Coming up next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the Social Hour is brought to you by Cashfly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is The Social Hour, episode 20 with Sarah Lane and Amber MacArthur, recorded Monday, August 8th, 2011. This episode of The Social Hour is brought to you by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 10% off your new account for 6 months, go to Squarespace.com and use the offer code SocialHour8. And by Netflix. Watch thousands of TV episodes and movies on your PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or TV instantly. All streamed directly to you, saving you time, money, and hassle. For your free 30-day trial, go to Netflix.com/twit. And welcome to another exciting episode of The Social Hour. We are on episode 20 in Petaluma, California at the new TWiT Brick House Studios. I'm Sarah Lane.
And I'm Amber MacArthur. I am still in Toronto. I'm in Toronto for the next few weeks, not traveling. So it's happy to have a stable environment to be doing the show while things get sorted out on the TWiT end with the wonderful new studio.
Yes, the studio is wonderful. Everybody loves it. We still have a few kinks to iron out. That is just the beauty of live television. Yeah, we're on the internet, but the same issues happen whether you're IPTV or you're in a big fancy studio. So thanks to everybody for all the feedback that you've given us so far on what set you like best. Right now, Amber, the clear front runner is this here living room set. Although today is a very different day because for our first two episodes we wanted to keep things simple because we knew that there was going to be some growing pains moving into the new studio. Today is different because we now have our very first guest on the new version of the show, and he is remote as well. So there's two of you in a TV and only one. I am outnumbered. Guy Kawasaki joins us now. Hello, Guy.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Did you know that we're number 23 and 24 on Google Plus right now?
Who's we?
Ooh,
you and
Sarah,
me?
you guys.
Yeah, two of us, Sarah.
Wow. No, I didn't. 23 and 24? Are you kidding me? Who's number one?
Zuckerberg.
Still?
Still?
I thought he deleted his account. Oh, he just locked it down.
I don't know. Maybe he wasn't getting enough action at Facebook. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, he probably is like, let's try it out. And then it got too popular. And it's like the last thing he would want is for his Google Plus page to be more popular than whatever Facebook presence he has.
Well, I don't think he's made one post yet to the public.
It's kind of a running joke, though. I think people are just keep adding him and including him because clearly it's pretty hilarious to have him at the top of this social network when he has such a massive network of his own. So I know a lot of people just kind of add him because they just think, or start following him because they just think it's hilarious. But Guy, I actually wanted to talk to you about Google Plus today because I noticed in your email that the link that it stands out the most is your Google Plus profile because you're pretty hooked on the network, right?
Oh, I love Google Plus. I just adore Google Plus. It's enchanting, even.
Well, so I like it too. I'm a big fan. I'm trying to figure out where posts work better on Google Plus than they do other places, and I'm already enjoying the interaction that I have there more than I do something like Twitter. Plus, I don't have 140 character limits each time I tweet or I add something to Google Plus. But how do you feel about some of the obvious exclusions, no ability to collapse comments on really popular posts, etc.? Is that coming?
Oh, but there's a Chrome extension that does that already.
Well, I know, but why wouldn't it already be natively built into Google Plus if enough people have already complained about it, is my point.
It's only been a month. Give them a break.
We're impatient, us early adopters. We don't have a lot of patience for this stuff.
Just use the extension. Life goes on. The extension works fine. Oh, maybe I don't have as many comments as you, Sarah.
Well, I doubt that very much, having seen some of your comment threads, but thank you. So Guy, what is it then? Obviously, you've figured out there are at least temporary workarounds for some of the things that might bother people, extensions and so forth. What is it about Google Plus that's drawn you to it? Because obviously you have a lot of experience with a variety of social networks. Why is this different and why is this better?
Well, first of all, I find myself editing roughly 90% of my posts and my comments, whether it's for typos or addendums or something. So just the ability to go back and fix things is wonderful for me. Secondly, I love that you can have large inline photos. And with Twitter, there's a link, and with Facebook, there's a small little postage stamp thing. I just love that you can have that. I also love the threading. Vis-a-vis Twitter, there's no threading on Twitter. You can do search and looking for your @mentions, but that's catch as catch can. With Facebook, I know there's threading within a post, but you're kind of depending on the people coming back to it. Whereas with Google Plus, unless they've changed their default or they've muted the post, they're getting notification that I answered them.
Right.
And so I find myself, I'm using Twitter and Facebook less and less, and Google Plus is becoming the center of my social media world.
Now, you say that, but I mean, as of about 9 a.m. this morning, your Twitter feed was full of links and information. If you're not being active there, you have everyone fooled. How do you do it?
Well, I said I. So this is what's going on with my Twitter feed. My Twitter feed is automatically getting stories that are links from Alltop. And Alltop is being fed by 22 people. So 22 people are contributing or looking for interesting stories. Those headlines automatically get tweeted out. So on any given day, if you look at my Twitter feed, there's probably 50 to 80 tweets. I used to supplement that with my own personal manual ones, but right now it's mostly the contributors who are pushing links. So @Guy Kawasaki on Twitter is getting to be more and more like a news channel. And the personal interaction, I still respond to stuff there, but the personal interaction, most of my personal interaction is on Google Plus today.
Guy, I have just a question about you mentioning that, because what I'm finding about Google Plus is I love it. I totally agree with you. It's a great network. I'm enjoying posting and going back and editing and all those things. But I am finding it more difficult to have conversations with people. Whereas on Twitter, if someone had sent something to me, I could send out a reply where I'm, waiting on the street or waiting for a meeting really quickly. But I'm finding with Google Plus, it tends to be this long sort of comment stream, and yet I'm not really participating as much, and it's hard to kind of get back to everybody. Are you finding the same sort of thing? How do you deal with that?
I find quite the opposite. With Twitter, there's such volume on Twitter. It's like impossible for me to thread, whether it's technical or mental. Whereas on Google Plus, where the comments go for a particular post and you can see a chronological order, I find that much better for interacting. I interact 20 times more on Google Plus than I can on Twitter. Twitter, I think best case, somebody posts something and you answer, and that's it. But with Google Plus, you can go back and forth a long time.
Guy, I did notice that on your Twitter feed, which we showed a minute ago, you have quite a few followers, well over 300,000, but you're also a following about 300,000. I have never seen anything that's as even at that level. There's no way that you could follow all those people. Are you using lists?
No, what I do is I never view my public timeline, literally. I'm only doing searches for mentions of me, and I respond to those. So the reason why I follow 300,000 people is I want to enable them to direct message me. And I also believe that if someone follows you, you should follow them just out of common courtesy.
What are you doing on Google Plus, just to switch back to that platform for 1 second, because I still want to know how you're managing this stream on Google Plus. But as far as the type of posts that are appropriate for Google Plus versus appropriate for Twitter, because what I'm finding with myself is that I realize there's a type of post that kind of works on Google Plus. Are you running across the same sort of thing?
Well, what I do now is I think Twitter is a link economy. I think Facebook is a picture economy. And Google Plus is everything. I mean, I post pictures, I post video, I post things that I would have put on a blog before, you know, long posts because you can be so much longer. So Google Plus is kind of the superset of social media for me. And I take a subset and I put that on Facebook, and a subset and I put that on Twitter.
It's interesting, I think. People, not everybody, but certainly in a lot of the press that Google Plus has gotten, it has been called a Facebook competitor. I mean, if you had to pick two big networks to pit against each other, then it's a Facebook killer, or it's, you know, they want to be the main Facebook competitor. But here we are, mostly comparing Google Plus to Twitter.
Twitter, yeah. I think it's more a Twitter killer right now than Facebook killer.
And you consider it a killer? Because I don't know. I feel like they work differently enough so that I'm not willing to give up either one.
Well, I don't know how you do both well. It's difficult because, you know, I mean, I'm so used to the ability to edit comments and posts now that, you know, I know when I'm on Twitter, man, when I press that enter button, it's gone. I can't ever. I
totally agree.
I mean, I really. It's such a convenience for me, the ability to edit. And, you know, the ability to put a picture in line versus Twitter's links is a big difference for me. And, you know,
Sorry, Guy. I was just curious. You know, once brands start getting on Google Plus, when the platform allows for that, do you think that's going to change the environment there at all? Do you think it will be a good thing?
Well, I mean, I don't think that brands and fan pages particularly change the Facebook experience, nor the Twitter experience. I mean, what's going to happen is that, you know, Sarah and I, number 23 and number 4, when all the brands come in, we're going to be, you know, down in the hundreds, right?
Right.
Because, you know, we can't compete with Starbucks. So it's kind of like the early days of Twitter when, you know, before the suggested user list, or what I call the suggested loser list, you know.
Let me guess, you were never on it.
I was never on it. And me and Squibble were never on it. And we've never forgiven Twitter for doing that. And, you know, we asked, and they kind of just ignored us because, I don't know, you know, we didn't have good enough posts or something. I don't know what it was. So one of the things I like about Google Plus is that it's a level playing field, right? So if you look at Paris Hilton, she has 10,000 people have circled her. She's not going to get 10 million unless Google makes a Google suggested loser list, which I kind of doubt that Google's going to do.
Well, then again, it took Twitter quite a bit of time. I mean, it was a little over 2 years to get to the amount of users that are already on Google Plus.
Something like that.
You know, one might say the celebrities, you know, the famous people that aren't necessarily, you know, into geek culture at all, will get here more quickly than they discovered Twitter.
Well, but, you know, I mean, just keep watching what happens to Paris Hilton's Google Plus account. I mean, it's not going to be that easy. It is a much more level playing field without the suggested user list.
I also think, too, that with Twitter, I think it's easy for celebrities to go in and post updates on their own. It's not that celebrities don't understand technology, but it's a very simple thing to write something in 140 characters or less. I kind of find with Google Plus, there's a little more pressure to be more interesting and more in depth. So I'm not trying to diss the celebrities, but I do think there's just an easier win to kind of start using Twitter because of the simplicity of the platform.
Amber, I think it's perfectly okay to diss celebrities.
Well, Guy, you're like a celebrity, so, you know.
No, not like you, Amber. I mean,
I think we can all agree that there are a few celebrities that can proudly wear the geek badge, and there are many more who just use these tools because they're internet tools and they're trying to reach as many people as possible. I mean, sometimes they overlap and sometimes they don't. So,
yeah,
Guy, we obviously need to talk about your latest book. It's funny, I was reading your bio, and you make a joke that you've either written 10 books or written one book 10 times. Do you feel like you've got some sort of a message that people just still need to, you still need to hammer home, or how has your message evolved?
Well, it started all with, a book called The Macintosh Way, and that contained a little bit about innovation and evangelism. And then I wrote whole books about innovation and then whole books about evangelism. So Enchantment is kind of my 10th book, and it involves everything I've done. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to write a book like How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. That's the goal, which is a very tall order, actually. That's a non-trivial task.
But Enchantment's been doing pretty well since I know you first came on the show and talked to us when Leo and I were doing the show. It seems like it's getting lots of attention. Are you deep into a new book now, or is that enough for you for a while?
Amber, Enchantment came out in the first week of March, so it's like April, May, June, July, August. It's 5 months. So to put it in context, because I know you have a child, that would be like me going up to you 5 months after your child was born and saying, Amber, when are you going to get pregnant again?
And people do that, though, guys. So maybe it's a valid question, right? People do that all the time. When's the next one coming, right?
Well, then they obviously have not had children or written books.
I agree with you. That's good. So you're focusing on Google Plus, and is that kind of, in some ways, I know some people have considered it almost like their new blog, a place where they are just sharing everything versus updating their own websites.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is for me. But it's interesting though. It's only been a few weeks for me, so we'll see if the love lasts. Right? There's still much to say good things about Twitter and Facebook, But there's this whole thread about people who they're so anti-shiny new thing phenomenon. They're like anything that's a shiny new thing, you're supposed to downgrade and degrade and just rag on it. I like shiny new things. That's the whole purpose in life, is get shiny new things. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, Leo and I are always joking that we're joiners. So it's like anytime there's a new network, we'll just join up and see how it goes. What's the harm in that? If we don't like it, we're not tied to it. But it's fun to play around. I think there's I guess fear of change or fear of your certain routine changing on you that people have. And then there's kind of like a negative thing that goes on. Google's a big company, they don't need our support. They're doing all these things wrong rather than all the things that they're doing right. I was down at the Blogger conference over the weekend, and Google had a booth set up in their main expo hall. And some of their community managers were down there teaching women who were interested in Google Plus, but weren't sure, what to do, men and women, how it works. And they had a big crowd. I mean, people were really into it. So I'm not sure why that happens with people when they don't want to give something a chance.
Well, some of it, you might say is justifiable because people are busy. I think a lot of it is just, I don't know if this is actually true or just kind of a good mythological story about, crabs always pulling the other crab, trying to get out of the pot, pulling that crab back down. But I think a lot of it is like that, in technology in Silicon Valley, I think a lot of people don't look at it as a rising tide can float all boats. Everything has to be a zero-sum game. So, if Google Plus succeeds, it means that something else has to fail. And I don't think that's necessarily true.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. I mean, I think I've figured out how to kind of manage all of them, and like Facebook, Twitter, and Google Plus. And to be honest with you, I think it's made me smarter in using each individual site, because I kind of have figured out after a few weeks with Google Plus what works there. Again, with Twitter, I kind of know the community that I have there. And for me, at least, and I don't know if you guys run into the same thing, but I feel like they're fairly different communities.
But, can I ask you both a question? So let's say, knowing everything you know about Twitter and Google Plus and Facebook, if someone said to you, okay, starting from scratch today with all you know, pick one, which one would you pick?
Ooh.
That's a good one. I think I would probably pick Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Amber, and that's just because, I've spent years trying to make Twitter the best experience that it can be for me, and that involves unfollowing people that makes me feel really, makes me feel really bad and guilty, but I know is it's not giving me enough enjoyment, that type of thing. It's like I've put a lot of effort into making Twitter a place where I enjoy hanging out. I think I'm giving people good information, or I think I'm saying funny things. Google Plus is a little bit too new, and I do think that there are some glaring issues that they really need to address in their update. In their next update, which has got to be coming soon.
Well, what are your glaring issues?
Okay, so my glaring issues so far are the little red notification tab, upper right-hand corner. I like shiny things, so anytime I see a number on that, I click on it, and people who have me in circles and they are in my extended circles, meaning I've circled somebody that they're friends with, they can push to share posts with me. And sometimes those posts are really interesting, and sometimes they're spammy and weird, and it's like, I'm not crazy about that. That's actually what I don't like about Twitter. It's like the people will out-reply me, and a lot of the stuff is just sort of useless. I'm not crazy about that on Google+. I also think that just the comment situation needs to be cleaned up, because I follow a lot of people who get 100 comments easily anytime they post anything, and I'm really interested in these people, and I don't want them to be off of my radar, but it makes for a very ugly scrolling experience, just to name a couple.
Okay. we need to tell Brad Horowitz that.
I think I have.
Hopefully it will get fixed up soon enough, though. I can only imagine that they hear the same complaints. But I have been using the Chrome extension, and I do think that has helped a lot, actually, thankfully. Have you
used the Chrome extension that enables you to reply very easily?
Yes, that's
a great extension.
That one has helped a lot, because not only can you reply halfway down, but then you don't have to memorize the person's name and then do the plus functionality.
That's great.
So, Guy, anybody I've been noticing as we've been talking, people saying, "Oh, I've got his new book on Audible," or "I've read one of his books," or "I haven't heard of Enchantment." For anybody who's familiar with your work, but has not read Enchantment yet, what's new and different about it? I mean, you say it's kind of like evangelism, but evangelism has also changed for you, hasn't it?
Yeah. So basically, the crux of Enchantment is that if you really are introducing something radical and new and all that, the more innovative and the more radical, the more you need to enchant people. The crux of Enchantment is 3 pillars: that you have to be likable, think Richard Branson; you have to be trustworthy, think Zappos; and you have to have high quality, think Apple. And so this book is, in a very tactical way, explains how to be more likable, more trustworthy, have a great product, how to introduce that product, how to overcome resistance, how to make your enchantment last, how to enchant your boss, how to enchant your employees. And finally, there's a chapter about how to resist enchantment, because everybody who tries to enchant you doesn't have your best interests at heart. And really, I'm trying to write a book that's just as good as How to Win Friends and Influence People.
So when you say that there are some people who they've got the right formula for enchantment, but it's some sort of a tool of manipulation, I guess, rather than something that's coming from a sincere place, how do people discern between the two?
I think one of the best tests is whether your enchantment is mutually beneficial, because some companies like to bludgeon you, promote you, discount you into making a purchase, and other companies enchant you, and you'll see that you gladly make a purchase. In fact, sometimes you'll stand in line to make a purchase, and you'll buy a Macintosh, an iPhone, iPod, iPad 2. You buy a case every time you go into the store. I mean, that's the difference between enchantment and simply sales or a transaction.
And Guy, I just want to mention another thing you forgot to mention about Enchantment is the smile, because you have to have a very genuine smile. And one of our viewers right now, Erica Marin says, Guy never stops smiling. So that can be enchanting. And I have to say that we also have someone else on Google Plus who's saying that this is a really great show with our guest, Jackie Chan. So...
You want me to tell you my Jackie Chan story?
Yes.
Okay. So this is about 10 years ago, and at the time I had a Porsche, a 911, and so I'm driving in Menlo Park, and I pull up to a stoplight, and I look over to my left, and there's this car full of teenage girls. And they're looking at me, and they're smiling at me, and they're laughing. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, Guy, you've truly arrived. You know, they know you from your Apple work. They know you as a venture capitalist. Like, even teenage girls know who you are. So one girl motions, roll down the window, okay? So I put down the window, and she leans out of the car. She says to me, are you Jackie Chan? So that's the start of the story. So now, you know, Amber and Sarah, everybody has to have goals in life. So my goal in life is that someday in Hong Kong, you know, Jackie Chan is driving his Rolls Royce, and these teenage girls ask him to roll out his window, and they lean out and they say to Jackie Chan, are you Guy Kawasaki?
It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time.
I don't even think you look like Jackie Chan. I mean,
we all look alike. Well, you know, I'll tell you another funny
I did not say anything of the kind. No, I just anyway.
So lots of times people come up to me and they say, Guy, well, start all over. So people come up to me and they say, your book changed my life. I didn't have any direction in my life. I was floundering. I was a failure. And I read your book, and it changed my life. It put me on this path, and I'm happier. I'm financially successful. You know, thank you so much for writing Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And I have to say, you know, that's Kiyosaki. I'm Kawasaki. I'm the poor dad, not the rich dad.
That's hilarious. Oh, my gosh. Poor Guy. And look at you now, though, Guy. Google Plus, you're rising to the top.
I'm friend of Amber. That's my new positioning statement.
Good luck with that. I hope I hope you have more in your back pocket than that. This is all because you want to move to Canada. Don't think I don't know this.
I know. I am a Canadian stuck in a Hawaiian body in California. It's
just wrong so many ways.
How uncomfortable.
Exactly.
Canadians from Hawaii in California. You don't know who you are. No wonder people think you're Jackie Chan. I don't know. This guy's confused.
Guy, we should probably let you get back to whatever you're doing over at LinkedIn. But
yeah, what are you doing at LinkedIn, by the way, Guy? Why don't you tell us some of the financial details?
Well, I'm going over my resume and trying to find a job. No, I gave an enchantment speech for a marketing offsite this morning, and from the time the offsite ended, and then I had to sign books, I couldn't get to my home in time to do this conference. Little did I know there would be 45 minutes of technical difficulties. So I could have stopped for lunch and been home, but you know.
Oh no. Well, we're glad that you stuck around and you could come on the show, and hopefully you'll come back again. It's always fun to have you on.
Can I give a plug? Okay, so right now, if you buy Enchantment, you can get a free copy of Gar Reynolds' Presentation Zen.
Oh.
So that's a deal of a lifetime.
Sarah, I'll be right back. Hey, Sarah.
Okay.
Hey, game. Is it a GT 500 Mustang?
I don't know. I love that. Amber was like, just so you know, there might be a knock on the door. I have a package getting delivered. Okay. I didn't understand. I was like, do you have to go somewhere? She says, no, they're just delivering a car to my house, so I have to open the door to get the keys.
See, that's why I'm Amber's friend.
Exactly. High rolling in Toronto. My goodness. So, it didn't work. We'll definitely add that link in post, Guy.
Okay. Okay, Sarah.
But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining us. I'm just going to go ahead and say goodbye to you while Amber's busy dealing with her new car that they delivered to her house. But thanks so much. We'll definitely...
Thanks, Guy.
Oh, she's back.
Bye.
Thanks, Guy. You're the best. Inspiration to all. Go pick up Enchantment right now.
Hey, Sarah.
Hi, Amber.
Sorry, I just had to...
Did you just get a new car?
No, I didn't. I had to plug in my computer because I've been sitting here for a bit, and it was getting a little bit low, so it was making me very nervous.
Okay. So you still might have to get up and get your new car keys afterwards.
I might, yeah.
Well,
yeah, if they come, we'll see.
I really like. It's interesting talking to Guy, which we have talked to Guy in the past on Net at Night before. I was lucky enough to fill in for Leo on one of the days that he was booked, and I'm always amazed how his style of using social media is in many ways different than how I'm comfortable using it, but he's really got that kind of this is how I use it. It's working for me. I'm positive about it. onward and upward. And I think that
I totally agree.
his kind of trifecta of being positive and being genuine and listening, and it's a really good formula. I don't think it works for everybody, but then
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But he is the nicest guy around. I mean, that's kind of part of it too, right? If I started sending out that many links, I mean, people would just bombard me and unfollow and everything. But somehow Guy Kawasaki gets away with that because he just is charming, right? Or enchanting, I suppose is the word that we should be using. But he is able to kind of balance that. And I've talked to him about Twitter before many times, and I'm sure on this show as well, and asked him, a lot of people don't like that he'll send out the same message 2 or 3 times. But he says quite honestly, and he has a good point, not everybody in his network is going to see that message the first time it's sent out. So he recognizes that people are online at different times, and so he wants it to get as much play with everyone. So for the small percentage of people who maybe don't like that, the reality is more and more people just see his stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So just for anybody, we weren't able to pull up the link a second ago, but Chad, I have it now up on my computer. This was Guy's plug, which is, it's less of a plug and more of just a cool thing for anybody who wants to take advantage of. If you buy Enchantment now, you will get a free copy of Presentation Zen at guykawasaki.com/enchantment/order. There may also be a link just at /enchantment too. So you just add your name, PDF of your receipt, your email, submit, and you get yourself a free copy of Presentation Zen. So thanks so much to Guy. Of course, if anyone's watching us live, you know that the live version of our show is always full of surprises. Amber, I was joking with our chat room before you and I could hear each other on mics that I just happen to have some sort of a Monday curse, and I have now passed it on to you. It's like malware at TWiT. So we had a little bit of technical issues. Now, if you're watching this podcast later in the on-demand version, that's great too. Glad to have you. You missed all that good stuff. But it does give people a little window into what goes into putting in our shows. If you'd like to watch live next week and see if we can pull something off without there being an audio issue delay, then you definitely need to know that we record our show live on Mondays at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 Pacific. And of course, our website, if you want to subscribe to the show and not even worry about tuning in live, or maybe do both, or maybe you want to subscribe to the audio feed because you do a lot of commuting, you go to the gym, you just want to listen to us, that's great too. I mean, we've got this beautiful studio here, but TWiT was, of course, founded on kind of the audio podcast model, and we don't want to alienate any of those people either. All of those feeds to choose from, and we have so many different encoded options depending on how you like to consume our content at twit.tv/TSH. That's our show website. The Social Hour, see? Social Hour 19. That was rad on the living room set. That was just 1 week ago, Amber. Amazing.
I know. And now we're the big 2-0, Sarah. We're growing up fast.
I know. It's so true. Before we get into some of this week's news, just want to quickly thank Squarespace for sponsoring this episode of The Social Hour. If you're not familiar with Squarespace, it is the fastest and easiest way to create we always say high-quality website or blog, but they really are. They're amazingly beautiful blogs that you can put together with absolutely no skill at all. Or you can hack it to pieces and create something very beautiful that has a really personal touch on it. If you go to squarespace.com, you don't know where to start, there's a great little tutorial that'll walk you through what your options are, how you can add Twitter widgets or Flickr widgets, or a variety of just kind of layouts and styles. But then you can also click on the examples tab. There's a million and one, well, not a million and one, but quite a few different styles of Squarespace blogs of people who are using Squarespace. They're updating regularly. They have a lot, just a lot of really beautiful views. So you really get an idea of, wow, you could do a lot with Squarespace. And I mean, a lot of these people, yeah, they've customized them, but you really don't have to do a whole lot of customizing. If you have a video podcast like the Totally Rad Show, their popular Revision 3 show, you can just go ahead and embed your most recent episode right on your main page, and then you've got areas for supplemental material, you've got previous episodes, artwork, you can link to forums, all that good stuff. Another thing that Squarespace does is you can actually host forums from within your very own blog, which is amazing. Not all blogs will let you do that. And keep in mind, too, that when I say blog, people say, I don't know, I don't really have that much to say. Hey, man, I don't either. Really haven't blogged regularly in about 6 months now, and I'm kind of feeling guilty about that. But I do a lot of work in other places, and again, Squarespace makes widgets a really fun way to be able to bring in where you are updating to your page so that when people visit, it doesn't feel like this stagnant place that you're not putting work into. You really do have a lot of options. Squarespace.com is the website, and when you do sign up, you can sign up for 14 days for free. You can go ahead and import from a different website, and by the way, you can export too if Squarespace isn't the right place for you, but I think that they offer you that option because they know that you'll come there and then you really like your experience. 14 days completely free. After that, we have a special offer code. If you watch the Social Hour, in the offer code area, type Social Hour 8. That's all one word. SOCIAL, HOUR, and the number 8. 8 designates the fact that this is August, the 8th month of the year, if you were wondering what Social Hour 8 meant.
I always wondered that, actually.
Did you?
Sarah?
Yeah, we've gotten enough questions that I feel like, just might as well explain. The people at Squarespace, obviously, they're sponsoring us, and they like to track when, when our message is the most effective. So with that special code, you will get 10% off of your blog for the first 6 months that you're on Squarespace. So you can do a lot of work for a nice discount. We thank them so much for sponsoring this episode of The Social Hour. Again, squarespace.com, offer code SocialHour8.
Love it.
Amber, do you feel, we did talk to Guy quite a bit about Google+, and Google+, this is something that we didn't mention at all in our interview with him, is the uproar over the fact that they require people to use their real names. Does that bother you?
You know what? It's funny. It actually didn't bother me at first when I was hearing about it, and I thought, oh, you might as well use your real name because it just lends credibility to the network itself, and it just makes it, I think, in some ways a more friendly place. But then I started to read a lot of the blog posts that were saying that this was totally unfair, and now I've completely flipped sides. There is a post recently from Dana Boyd, who does a lot of great writing about the social space, and the post is "Real Names Policy is an Abuse of Power," and she goes into the list of people, Sarah, and you probably saw this, where real names cause a problem for a lot of individuals who are trying to protect their privacy online. There are people who mention that they've been stalked before. They're school teachers and they want to have the utmost privacy. And the list of people goes on and on. And even a link to a website called My Name Is, so it's my.nameis.me, where people are going online and saying that they should be able to use whatever name they want. And a lot of people have come forward and said the reasons that they feel that this is important. And so hopefully Google eases up on that policy a little bit. I know some people have said, well, Facebook has always kind of enforced this, but many people are saying that, well, Facebook started as a college social network, so it wasn't a big deal. It was a very tight-knit community, and I think with Google+, maybe they should have been a little more smarter and recognized that they have a much broader community to start out with, and hopefully we've learned that it's important for teens as well to protect their privacy online.
I agree. Dana Boyd's in particular, her blog post got me thinking, because I felt the same way you did. It's like, my name, I mean, even my username on every social network is always Sarah Lane, which is just the one-word version of my name. The only time it ever isn't is if for whatever reason somebody else has taken it, so then I just add Sarah Lane Rocks or something. But I've always been very comfortable using my real name. I don't have pseudonyms or really different monikers for the most part. But I'm also not somebody who maybe has been in a domestic situation that it would really behoove me not to have my real name out there so that people who did not have my best interests at heart could follow me. Obviously, there's cyberbullying and stalking and I mean all sorts of terrible issues that don't happen to everybody but do happen to some people that you'd say, wow, when you put it in that way, I can really see why you wouldn't want to use your real name. And the fact that that's not being taken into consideration by a company of Google's size, that not only do they really promote I mean, the safety and the well-being of the community don't be evil, but they're big enough to you'd think that they would have more of these types of situations than a much smaller social network where maybe a couple people would complain. I mean, a lot of people have complained about this, not only because it's their issue, but they know somebody, or they really identify with people who just are uncomfortable using their real names.
Yeah, and I do really hope that they will change this. Again, the more I read about it, the more I am on the side of the people who are pushing for Google to let them use whatever name they want to use. And I think there's a really good argument for them to do that.
Me too. All right, moving on. I don't know, this came up on my radar this morning, and I had kind of seen a little bit of buzz about it over the weekend. But it looks like Amazon at least is in the beginning stages of a social network, or they've just made a very simple social network based around Kindle purchases. I actually set up my little Kindle account this morning, and I'm looking at it on my computer right now. You add a little picture, and if you connect your account to Facebook and Twitter. Those are the only two social networks at this time that it lets you connect to. I automatically start following in my little Kindle social network people that I'm already following on either of those networks, although it does seem to work a little bit strangely because a couple of these people I don't know. But if I go into the My Books tab, these are 2 books that I've bought recently via the Kindle bookstore, because I read Kindle books on my iPad. The Hunger Games is something that I bought recently, and at this time I get to share my reading status, and then I also get to share if I want that to be public or not. Like, have I read it? Am I in the middle of reading it? Am I hoping to read it? Did I stop reading it? Maybe it helps you say, like, I just couldn't get through this book, and maybe you can give an explanation type of a thing. What it also allows people to do, and this I think it has the opportunity to get really noisy depending on how much you read, is you can make any of the notes that you make on any of your books public, which is great. But when you connect your account to Twitter, for example, you have to be careful to make sure that in your preferences you are either comfortable automatically sharing all reading activity to Twitter. This was checked by default, by the way, when I signed up, or uncheck it to make sure that you're not tweeting out a bunch of stuff that either you're uncomfortable sharing or you don't think that people want to be seeing all of those tweets. So I don't know. I mean, this kind of came out of nowhere. Clearly, it's pretty simple. I guess the most obvious competitor that I could think of is Goodreads, which is a social network about reading books, and kind of has that book club community to it. But Amber, what do you think? Are you a big Kindle reader? Is this something that would be helpful for you?
Yeah, I do. I think there are so many people obviously are Kindle readers. So I think actually creating a tight-knit community like this, it will probably work, I would think. I'm surprised they didn't do anything to either acquire or take advantage of the Goodreads community, though, because that obviously has grown so much, and there are a lot of committed people there. But either way, I mean, I think any communities around books, it's such a natural thing for people to want to come together and talk about their favorite things to read. So it sounds kind of neat.
Yeah, I agree. I like it. I don't know where they're going to take it. Maybe what we're seeing now is pretty much it. Maybe there's more going on. Knowing Amazon, especially since Amazon apparently is going to have tablets sooner than later. I mean, I would be surprised if Amazon hasn't thought pretty seriously about the idea of putting together an Amazon-based social network. Obviously, the Kindle store is a great place to try something like this out because people who love reading, for the most part, usually have strong opinions about books that are good, and they really want to help recommend, and they're interested in what their friends are reading. And again, like a social network such as Goodreads, and if you're not familiar with it, it's just goodreads.com, and it's really cool. There is a thriving community of people who like to talk about this stuff. So definitely one to watch, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of things to watch, there's a new trend on Twitter that has been getting a little bit of attention online. The concept is a Twakeover. So that would be a Twitter takeover, where essentially what you do is you hand over your account to someone else. This became popular later last week after Stephen Colbert had taken over MLB, Major League Baseball's Twitter Twitter account for about 24 hours. So essentially it was almost like hijacked by Stephen Colbert, and there were some really funny tweets that he sent out there. I also noticed that water.org is doing the same thing with their Twitter account. However, they're having a contest where they're offering people, one person will be able to take over the Twitter account, I believe, for a week in September, which is kind of interesting. A little bit more scary, I think, for the Water account, having just a random person take it over than Stephen Colbert. But it seems to be something that is gaining a little bit of popularity. I wrote an article about it last week, and I think we're going to see a lot more of this, Sarah.
So it's so funny that you mentioned the MLB account, because to my knowledge, or at least nothing that stood out to me, no one had really ever tweeted anything from MLB before that was showing up in my timeline on Twitter. And last week, almost all of Stephen Colbert's tweets, or the funniest ones, I guess, were being retweeted by multiple people. There was a joke that he made about how, the song that says, "Bring me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks." He's like, "Peanuts are in Cracker Jacks." And I got a good laugh. It's like, I was sort of like, MLB? That's kind of a weird thing for them to say. And then I realized what was going on, that he had won a bet, and so he was in charge of the Twitter stream, which I think is really good promotion for brands.
Yeah, it's funny. When I wrote the article, my editor had suggested that I invite people to come up with really interesting takeovers, really strange takeovers of Twitter accounts that would inspire a lot of conversation. So I put together just a short little list of my own that talked about people like Bill Maher taking over the Fox News account. And the list kind of goes on and on, like Donald Trump, if he took over President Obama's Twitter account, how there would be some really
match
funny
made in heaven
conversation. So, but again, I do think it's going to be a trend that we see more and more of in the future. But for brands and individuals, they just need to kind of protect themselves a little bit and make sure that there are some rules if they're letting just a random person take over their account.
Absolutely. I mean, President Obama would never.
That's not going to happen.
Donald Trump take over his account for a week. So yeah, it would have to. I guess it would have to be something that was a good match. I mean, even if for comedic purposes, in the example of Stephen Colbert, or something where, I don't know, I guess mutual parties get something out of it. But I think it's a great idea. I think there should be more Twitter hijack mashups going on.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
I could think of a few accounts that I'd love to take over for a week,
Me too.
Imagine the people I could reach if I just had Guy Kawasaki's Twitter follower account.
Oh, maybe Guy will give us his account for 24 hours, Sarah. That should be our next goal. Okay,
maybe, yeah, okay. Well, we'll follow up with him after the show. I'm sure he'll be very into it.
He just says he doesn't really, he doesn't use Twitter as much anymore. So what's 24 hours, right?
Exactly. Exactly. All right, so let's get into a little bit of our viewer feedback. We got a couple of emails, but in the interest of time, I want to jump right over to the voicemail. This is Seth from Philly, and he wants to know when we're all going to hang out.
Hey, Amber and Sarah, it's Seth from Philadelphia and A2SM.com. Just wanted to know if you guys were ever thinking about possibly doing a hangout during the show and maybe doing interactive, the social hour interactively. My show is A2SM, which we actually had Amber on at one point. We've started doing it through a hangout and recording our video that way. Our last one was kind of disastrous, but it was a neat experience. We're going to try it again for this Friday's episode as well. Just curious if you guys are going to end up doing it, for the social hour. That'd be very social. It's a good idea, and I'll keep it the great work. Love the show, love the network, and love the new Twitter account. It's totally awesome. Take care, guys.
Nice.
Bye.
Thanks, Seth from Philadelphia. So Seth, for anybody who's like, what does he mean by Hangout? He's talking about Google Plus Hangouts, and that's the feature that got a lot of attention when Google Plus first launched, at least in beta, where you can have a multiple video chat. So Amber and I and Chad, and I think it's up to 10 people at a time, can all have a video chat, which would be, I guess, similar to a Skype group chat, but it actually switches the video automatically based on who's talking. So it's actually pulling from audio inputs to switch naturally, almost as if there was a director behind the scenes. That is an interesting idea, Amber. I'm not sure how well it would work on this show. Since we have so many other little delicate parts of the show.
We're kind of cursed here with technology. So we're very good at the social thing, but with the technology, we haven't had too much luck. But maybe we can give it a try sometime, because I know he's not the only one that has requested that. Of course, there's been other people as well.
We could always maybe think about doing some sort of, after show type of a hangout type thing where we can.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah, we could take it into chat and do a hangout, and we'll find the time at some point. But I like the idea. I think it's cool that I think Seth mentioned that he does a show and that you were on at least at some point, and that's something that they've tried and it's worked out well for them. I think for certain situations it's a really cool feature, and if people can actually put together shows that they're proud of and they think looks really good without actually having to switch anything, that's really neat too.
Very cool. And I love getting voicemails, we should say. And lots of ways to get in touch with us here on The Social Hour. You can write us at thesocialhour@twit.tv. Leave us a voicemail at 2626-SOCIAL, or record a video, upload it, and send us a link. But, of course, we always mention this. Try to keep it to, 30 seconds, Sarah? That's pretty good.
Yeah, 30 seconds is good for us. And also, we did get a couple of videos and a couple of audio files that we don't like to download. So please, if you can manage just the extra step, if you can host that somewhere, even if it's YouTube or anywhere that you can send us a URL so that we can just open it up in a browser and play it from there, that really helps us out, because we don't want to be opening a lot of attachments. So apologies to anybody who sent us that in a format we couldn't use. Send it again, and we're happy to look at it. All right, let's thank Netflix before we get to Amber's Rad or Fad segment. Netflix, of course, is, it's the end-all, be-all for video. It's certainly the best. It's the best option you have. And believe me, since I became a cord cutter, all I think about is how I get my television shows and my movies without having to deal with cable companies. So I use a lot of services, and Netflix still has just remained the best way to watch TV shows and movies on a variety of devices. Directly through your TV, through your Apple TV, through your Roku box, through your Xbox 360, or through your iPad. Netflix makes it really easy to watch a variety of content on the go or in your living room, high quality stuff. Now, of course, they have the DVD option. That's one of the packages where you get DVDs sent to you. It's a monthly fee, so you can watch as many as you want. You just put the DVD back into the mail when you're done, and then you get the next one that's on your queue, and you can manage your queue online. Or they have instant streaming. That's actually what I use exclusively. Now, instant streaming started out as a modest little collection of TV shows and movies, and it's growing by the day. One of the shows that has entered the streaming collection is Mad Men. We've talked about this before, but hear me out, because I know a lot of you are already Netflix subscribers. So you're like, Sarah, we know. You talk about this all the time. We know how good Netflix is. It's great. Let's say you know somebody who would really like the show Mad Men, and they're behind, and now AMC isn't running reruns anymore, and it's like, well, are they going to buy a season pass on iTunes? Don't worry about any of that, because if you go to netflix.com/twit, they can get Netflix for 30 days free. Now, if they're dedicated to the show Mad Men, they can watch 4 seasons within 30 days. Yes, you might have to stop sleeping. You might have to miss a few meals, but you can do it. And that is a great present to just give somebody. It doesn't cost you a dime, and then they get a sense of what Netflix has to offer, and everybody's happy. Because at the end of those 30 days, chances are they're like, I would really like the service, and so I'm going to go ahead and sign up. So then we're happy, you're happy, you get to suggest something to a friend who might like a high-quality show like Mad Men, which is a really good show, by the way. If you haven't watched it, I really recommend it.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm a big
it's
fan.
One of the best.
It's a great, if you travel a lot, great, if you're, touring around and you miss some shows and stuff, it's a great idea to come back and get caught up on them, because I'm a big fan of Mad Men, and it took me a while to get into it, but I'm hooked now, Sarah.
Me too. All right, Amber, it is time for something called Rad or Fad.
Yes, rad or fad. Again, a lot of pressure every week, Sarah, when we have to talk about this segment. This week, I found something from a company called Banana Flame, who appears to sell clothing. And they have this really cool webcam social shopper element to the website. Now, we've seen this before where you go to shop and you can get a webcam kind of turned on and you can sort of see what clothes look like on you. However, I've never seen it done this well, and they're using augmented reality to be able to enable this. And you're also able, and this is where the social element comes in, you're also able to share things that you might potentially want to buy with your social network around you by basically getting in front of your camera, kind of seeing what the different items look like on you, and then sharing with friends to see if you should buy that item or not. So I thought this was kind of interesting, and I'm curious, Sarah, what do you think?
I think it's great. I think with clothes, gosh, it's for the most part, I sometimes have a problem, unless I know the brand really well and I know the size. Buying clothes online is stressful because it's one of those things where you really want to know what it's going to look like on you, and it never looks on you the way it does on like a willowy tall model, that sort of thing. So anything that gives me a better idea of what realistically something would look like, I like.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. I mean, if you go to Banana Flame's website, and it looks like they are based in the UK right now. However, you can imagine this technology being rolled out at some of the big retailers over here. Essentially, you stand 4 or 5 feet away from your camera, and you're able to kind of see, what different colors look like. And so I would put it in the rad category. I think it's a benefit to a lot of people who like online shopping. And I think it's just trying to get us one step closer to having that tactile experience. I mean, I love to go shopping and kind of feel things, what a cashmere sweater feels like, or a pair of jeans. And so if we can't get that, if we're forced to kind of stay in our homes and do shopping like that, at least you could kind of try stuff on, send to some friends, see what they think, and then it might make you a smarter shopper on the web.
Absolutely. But you guys get the idea. I mean, the idea is there's an article of clothing, and it's almost like, Amber, the sites that will let you put a different hairstyle on a picture of yourself. So it's like, you have to... You kind of have to frame it up a certain way and make sure your eyes are at a certain level, and then you just get a good idea of what it might look like on you. So
yeah, it's the same sort of concept.
Yeah, and see this girl here seeing, is this the right color for me? Would it look cute with these jeans? Type of a thing. I like it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think it's fun. It falls into definitely falls into the rad category. So next week I'll have to find a fad item, Sarah.
I know,
you're right.
We're on a roll, and that worries me. It's like, I mean, not everything can be rad because there's so much bad stuff out there, right?
I know, but just like you mentioned with Guy, I think, I fall into this category where I'm attracted to shiny new stuff and really cool things. So when I dive into a story like this and I think, oh, that's really interesting, I'm more excited and inclined to talk about it than I would be to talk about something that was really lame.
Yeah, somebody in our chat room says, Buzz Out Loud talked about this. It's a fad. Now, I don't know that is true. I didn't hear what their opinions were. Maybe they didn't like the idea. But just because a different show talked about it doesn't mean it's a fad. It might mean it's rad and the word is spreading. Listen, anything that gives you a good idea of what something that's going to cost you your hard-earned dollars might look, or whatever currency you happen to use might look like, I think it's rad. Amber, that was a good pick. Banana Flame.
I just like the name, Sarah. Banana Flame.
I do too. Except it's sort of, when you think of Banana Flame, the last thing I think of is like a flattering piece of clothing.
Don't think about it. Okay? Like just 1 second when someone says it, it sounds kind of cool. Don't get visual with it, or it's gonna turn ugly for you pretty quickly.
All right. For you, Amber, I was kind of hoping that you were going to get your new car in the middle of the show, but
I got it. You didn't even notice I left.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
What?
I snuck out. I'm like a ninja. I'm a ninja, Sarah.
Before I said, oh, you went and got your car, and you said, oh, no, it was a...
power cord. I just went and I sneakily went away and got my power cord. And then I think you were talking about, we were talking about the Dana Boyd article, and I noticed that you had just started to speak. I answered the door. The guy gave me the keys, and he was like, here, your car is blah, blah. And I'm like, thanks. And I closed the door and came back in.
Very good. Very good.
Awkward.
Yeah. I'm a very busy woman. I'm doing a show right now. Thank you for the car. Well, that's awesome. Well, enjoy your joyride. I hope that's what you're going to do now with this new car that you have. That's pretty amazing. But we've got another show in the can. It was a good one. Guy Kawasaki was a great guest. I hope we can have him on again soon because he's a lot of fun to talk to and very inspirational.
And always cheery and smiling. And next week we have Scott Stratton. He has a little bit more of an edge, so he might not be smiling all the time because he has some pretty opinionated views on how you should be using social networks, so you don't want to miss that show.
Definitely. That's Scott Stratton of Unmarketing, at Unmarketing on Twitter. So if you want to get familiar with him in the meantime, you've got a week. See if you like what he has to say, and then get your questions ready, and send us anything that you'd like us to ask him on next week's show. Until then, Amber, have a great week. See you online,
Sarah.
and thanks everybody for watching The Social Hour.
See you later.
See ya.